My parents didn't invite me to Thanksgiving this year. Mom texted, "We're only having your sister's family this year." I replied, "Have a good time." They had no idea I owned a $6,500 estate. I invited everyone else. And when they saw the photos, my phone exploded. "We're only having your sister's family this year," Mom texted. I stared at my phone, sitting in my penthouse overlooking Boston Harbor. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for exactly 3 seconds before I typed back, "Have a good time." They had absolutely no idea I owned a $6.5 million estate in Colorado. My name is Emberly, and I'm 32 years old. I used to be a tech entrepreneur, splitting my time between Boston and Aspen. I had everything figured out, or so I thought, until that November afternoon when my phone lit up with Mom's message. "Hi, Emberly. Your father and I have decided to keep Thanksgiving small this year. We're only having Victoria, Brandon, and the kids over. Hope you understand. Love you." I didn't argue. What was the point? See, I'd spent my entire life living in Victoria's shadow. My older sister was prom queen, head cheerleader, straight A student, the complete package. My parents worshipped the ground she walked on. I remember being 12, coming home excited because I'd won second place in a regional robotics competition. I walked into the kitchen clutching my trophy, ready to show Mom and Dad. Mom barely glanced up from her tablet. "That's nice, sweetie." Then she turned to Dad. "Did you see Victoria made varsity cheer as a sophomore? Coach Davis said she's the best athlete they've had in years." Dad practically leaped out of his chair. "We need to call everyone. This is incredible." I went to my room and placed the trophy on my shelf. Nobody ever asked about it again. When I was 15, I spent 3 nights straight teaching myself Python. I built this program that could organize our family photos by date, location, and even facial recognition. I was so proud. I showed Dad, thinking he'd be impressed. He glanced at my laptop screen for maybe 5 seconds. "That's good, Emberly. Hey, did you know Victoria got accepted to homecoming court? We need to take her dress shopping this weekend." And that was it. My moment over. The worst part. When I got into Stanford for computer science with a partial scholarship, my parents' reaction was basically a shrug. I told them at dinner, my hands trembling because I was so excited. Mom nodded. "California's far from home." Dad said, "Well, if that's what you want to study." That was it. No celebration, no congratulations party. Victoria looked up from her phone for half a second. "Cool." Then went back to texting. College was lonely. I moved to Palo Alto, started my classes at Stanford, and my parents barely called. Maybe once every 6 weeks if I was lucky. They were always busy with something Victoria-related. During my sophomore year, Victoria married Brandon. The wedding was massive. 10 bridesmaids walked down that aisle in matching champagne dresses. 10. I wasn't one of them. Victoria chose her sorority sisters, her high school friends, even Brandon's 2 sisters, but not me. At the reception, I ended up helping the catering staff in the kitchen while Victoria and her bridesmaids performed some choreographed dance routine on the floor. Mom was crying happy tears. Dad was giving a toast about his perfect daughter. Nobody noticed I wasn't at my assigned table. Family holidays became predictable after Victoria's wedding. I'd show up at my parents' house in Columbus for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and within an hour, I'd be loading the dishwasher while Victoria lounged in the living room with Brandon and their kids. Mom and Dad would be on the carpet playing with the grandchildren, completely absorbed. My parents never visited me at Stanford, not once in 4 years, but they went on vacation with Victoria and Brandon twice during that time. Once to Hawaii, once to the Bahamas. They'd post pictures on Instagram, beach sunsets, resort pools, everyone grinning. I graduated from Stanford in the top 12% of my class. Mom and Dad came to the ceremony but left immediately afterward to get back for one of Victoria's kids' birthday parties. We didn't even grab lunch. After graduation, I worked at a couple of Silicon Valley companies. The work was fine, but I wanted more. I wanted to build something that mattered. So when I was 26, I founded my first startup. It failed spectacularly after 16 months. I burned through my savings, maxed out 3 credit cards, and had nothing to show for it except experience and crushing debt. I called my parents, hoping for support or encouragement. Dad answered, "Well, Emberly, I hate to say I told you so, but entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. You're just not cut out for this kind of risk. Maybe you should find a stable job with good benefits." Mom got on the line. "Your father's right. Look at Victoria. She's doing wonderfully at Goldman Sachs. Maybe you could ask her for advice on being more realistic about your career." I said I had to go and hung up. I didn't cry. I just sat there in my cramped apartment staring at the wall. I moved into this tiny place with 4 roommates in San Jose. My bedroom barely fit a twin mattress. I worked at a desk I'd cobbled together from an old door and 2 filing cabinets. It was depressing, but it was what I could afford. Then I landed a job at Next Tech Solutions. I was good at it, really good. I climbed fast, junior developer to team lead to director of innovation in 3 years. I was finally making decent money, finally feeling confident, but I still wanted to build something of my own. So when I was 29, I quit. I took every dollar I'd saved and founded CyberGuard, a cybersecurity software company. After one failed startup, launching another seemed insane. My roommates thought I'd lost my mind completely. The first 6 months were brutal. I moved into an even smaller apartment to save money. I ate ramen noodles for dinner most nights. I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. I'd fall asleep at my keyboard and wake up with keycap marks on my cheek. There were nights I lay awake thinking I'd made a catastrophic mistake, that my parents were right, that I wasn't built for this. 3 months in, I was almost broke. I called Dad, hoping maybe this time would be different. "Dad, I need help. Just a small loan to keep the company running for another 2 months. I'll pay you back with interest." Dad sighed into the phone. "Emberly, I warned you about this. Business clearly isn't your thing. You should cut your losses and find a real job." Then his voice shifted, got all proud. "Victoria just got promoted to vice president. She's doing fantastic. No drama, no begging for money, just steady, intelligent work." I hung up without saying goodbye. I never asked them for anything again. But here's the thing about life. Sometimes the timing's right. Your product fills a gap nobody else saw. Or you work just hard enough for just long enough that things start clicking. CyberGuard took off. I didn't tell anyone about CyberGuard's success, not right away. I kept showing up to family dinners at Thanksgiving and Christmas, letting my parents and Victoria think I was still struggling. They'd ask about work in that condescending way people do when they assume you're failing. "How's the little computer business going?" Mom would ask, already turning away to wipe something off one of the grandkids' faces. "It's going fine," I'd say. Victoria would pat my hand. "It's wonderful that you're still trying. Not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. There's no shame in that." I just smile and change the subject. 2 years after I founded CyberGuard, the company had grown to 95 employees with offices in Boston, Denver, and Seattle. We'd landed contracts with Fortune 500 corporations, federal agencies, major banks. Our software was protecting millions of users globally. Last year, when I was 31, a massive tech conglomerate approached me about acquiring the company. The negotiations took 5 months. I had attorneys, advisors, people in expensive suits discussing valuations and market projections and growth trajectories. They bought CyberGuard for $320 million. I sat in that conference room after signing the final papers, and I didn't feel anything at first, just numb. Then I went back to my Boston apartment, collapsed on my couch, and laughed until tears streamed down my face. I bought a penthouse in Boston first. Nothing crazy, just a beautiful space with floor-to-ceiling windows and harbor views. Then I started looking at properties in Colorado. I'd always loved Colorado. The mountains, the space, the peace. I found an estate about 45 minutes outside Aspen. 7 bedrooms, a guest house, 60 acres of land with mountain views that took my breath away. The price was $6.5 million. I bought it without hesitation. Then I spent another $1 million on renovations. I hired an interior designer, a landscape architect, contractors. I wanted it perfect. I hired a property manager named David to oversee everything when I wasn't there. By October, the estate was finished. It was stunning, stone and timber and glass with massive windows overlooking the mountains. The guest house had 4 bedrooms. The main house had a chef's kitchen, a library, a home theater, a gym with a yoga studio. I walked through the empty rooms and thought about Thanksgiving. I imagined inviting my whole family to Colorado, showing them what I'd accomplished, finally sharing the success with them. I pictured my parents' faces when they saw the house. Maybe they'd finally be proud. Maybe everything would change. Then Mom's text came through, the one about keeping Thanksgiving small, just Victoria's family. I sat on the deck of my Colorado estate, looking out at the mountains, and felt something shift deep inside me. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt anymore. I was simply done. I started making calls. First, I called Uncle Thomas. "Hey, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?" "No plans," he said. "Your parents mentioned they wanted to keep it small this year. Just immediate family, I guess." "Immediate family," I repeated slowly. "Right. Want to come to Colorado instead?" "Colorado, absolutely. That sounds amazing." I called Aunt Patricia. Same story. Mom and Dad had told her they were keeping it small. I called my cousins. I called second cousins. I called family friends who'd been at our Thanksgiving dinners for decades. Every single person said the same thing. My parents had uninvited them, said they were keeping it intimate, just close family. I called 27 people. Every single one had been cut from the list. On the 28th call, I reached Mom's sister, Aunt Diane. She was more blunt than the others. "Your parents didn't want us there because we don't measure up to Brandon's family," she said. "They've got surgeons and corporate attorneys on his side. Your mom actually said something about wanting to impress them. Can you believe that? Suddenly we're not good enough." I thanked her and hung up. My parents had thrown out 30-plus relatives because they weren't impressive enough for Victoria's in-laws. I sat there for a full minute. Then I started texting. I invited everyone to Colorado. Uncle Thomas, Aunt Patricia, Aunt Diane, all my cousins, family, friends. I invited former employees from CyberGuard. I invited my 2 closest friends from Stanford who'd stuck by me through everything. Almost everyone said yes immediately. The guest list grew to 42 people. I bought first-class plane tickets for everyone flying in. I arranged car services from Denver Airport to the estate. I booked rooms at a luxury hotel 15 minutes away for people who couldn't fit in the main house and guest house. I hired a chef named Antonio who'd worked at a 3-Michelin star restaurant in Denver. I hired a professional photographer. I ordered enough food to feed a small army. I went to each guest bedroom and placed personalized gifts. For Uncle Thomas, who loved golf, I got a top-of-the-line Titleist driver. For Aunt Patricia, who collected vintage scarves, I found a Hermes piece from the 1960s. For my cousin's kids, I got educational toys and books. I worked with David for 2 weeks getting everything ready. The house had never looked better. Fresh flowers in every room, the kitchen fully stocked, guest rooms made up with luxury linens. 3 days before Thanksgiving, I was standing in the kitchen reviewing the menu with Antonio when my phone rang. "Victoria," I almost didn't answer. "Hey, Emberly," she said. "I just wanted to check in. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?" "I've got plans," I said. "Oh, with friends, with family?" I said, "With family." There was a pause. "What family?" "The family that actually wanted to spend the holiday with me." I hung up. I turned my phone to silent and went back to planning the best Thanksgiving anyone had ever experienced. Thanksgiving morning started early. I was up at 6 o'clock checking everything one final time. Antonio was already in the kitchen prepping. The photographer arrived at 7 to capture the entire day. Uncle Thomas and his wife Sarah were the first guests to arrive at 9. They stepped out of the car service vehicle, got out, and just stood there staring at the house. "Holy Emberly," Uncle Thomas said. "This is yours?" "All mine," I said, hugging them both. Sarah looked like she might cry. "It's absolutely breathtaking. I can't believe your parents didn't want to see this." "Their loss," I said. Over the next 2 hours, everyone else arrived. Aunt Patricia came with her husband and 2 kids. My cousins showed up with their families. My friends from Stanford flew in from San Francisco. Former CyberGuard employees drove up from Denver. I gave everyone the grand tour. We walked through the main house, the guest house, out to the trails that wound through the property. People kept touching things like they couldn't believe it was real. The kids ran around screaming with pure joy. By noon, everyone had settled in. People were scattered around the property, some hiking, some sitting by the fireplace, some in the kitchen watching Antonio work his magic. At 2 o'clock, I gathered everyone in the main dining room. We'd set up 2 long tables that could seat 50 people. The tables were covered in food: turkey, prime rib, sides, fresh baked rolls, 7 different pies. It looked like something from a magazine spread. I stood up with my glass. "I just want to say thank you all for coming. This means more to me than you know. I wanted to spend today with people who actually want to be around me, and I'm so grateful you're all here." Everyone raised their glasses, then Uncle Thomas stood up. "To Emberly, who built all this from nothing and was generous enough to share it with us." We were about to drink when I heard a car door outside. I looked out the window and saw a taxi pulling away. Walking up to the front door was my grandmother, Dorothy. I ran to the entrance. "Grandma, what are you doing here?" She hugged me tight. "You think I was going to miss this? I told your parents I wasn't feeling well and couldn't make it to Columbus. Then I bought a plane ticket online. Figured it out all by myself, too. The dinner was perfect. No tension, no awkward silences, no one getting up to check on kids while everyone else sat there uncomfortably. We ate and talked and laughed for hours. Antonio outdid himself. The food was extraordinary. People went back for seconds and thirds. After dinner, we went around the table sharing what we were thankful for. Aunt Patricia said she was thankful for family that stuck together. Uncle Thomas said he was thankful for second chances. My Stanford friends talked about friendships that lasted through the years. Then Grandma Dorothy spoke up. "I'm thankful for people who are brave enough to forge their own path when the regular road isn't working for them. People who don't give up even when they're not getting support from those who should be supporting them most." She looked directly at me. I had to look away because tears were forming. After dinner, people spread out around the property again. The photographer took group photos, candid shots, pictures of the house and grounds. Everyone was posting on social media. I saw the posts popping up on my phone. "Best Thanksgiving ever at Emberly's Colorado estate. Who needs Columbus when there's Colorado? Grateful for family that shows up." Pictures of the house, the mountains, the tables overflowing with food, everyone smiling. I was sitting on the deck with Grandma Dorothy, watching the sunset paint the mountains orange and pink when my phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. "Beautiful house. I didn't know you were so wealthy. Mom and Dad are in complete shock." I showed the text to Grandma. She laughed so hard she started coughing. "Good," she said. "Let them be shocked. Maybe it'll knock some sense into them." That night, after most people had gone to their rooms or the hotel, I sat in the living room with my closest friends. We had a fire going, glasses of wine, the kind of comfortable silence you only get with people who truly know you. "You did good, Emberly," my friend Natalie said. "Really good." "Thanks," I said. "I just wish it didn't have to be like this. I wish my parents could have been here." "They made their choice," Natalie said. "You made yours. Yours was better." My phone started ringing. My parents. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again and again. Finally, the next morning, after I'd had coffee and was feeling brave, I answered. "Emberly." Mom's voice was high and strained. "What is going on? Why are there Facebook photos of you at some mansion in Colorado with your grandmother?" "We thought she was sick." I said, "She was sick of your Thanksgiving plans, so she came to mine." "Your Thanksgiving? What are you talking about? You said you wanted to keep it small, just Victoria's family. So I invited everyone else you uninvited. Uncle Thomas, Aunt Patricia, all the cousins, about 42 people total. We had an incredible time." Silence on the other end. "Where did you get the money for a house like that?" Mom finally asked. "I sold my company last year," I said calmly, "for $320 million. More silence. Then a sound like Mom had dropped the phone. I heard Dad's voice in the background asking what was wrong. Then Mom screaming, $320 million, why didn't you tell us?" "I did tell you," I said. "Last Christmas you were busy with Victoria's son's science project and didn't hear me." Dad got on the phone. His voice was sharp. "Are you trying to prove something by dragging the whole family out to Colorado?" "I'm not trying to prove anything," I said. "When Mom wrote that I wasn't wanted, I made other plans, that's all." "You made us look terrible," he said. "I didn't make you do anything," I said. "You uninvited 27 people because they weren't good enough for Brandon's family. I just invited them to my house instead." I heard Victoria's voice in the background. Then she was on the phone. "Emberly, do you know what this looks like? Everyone's posting pictures. Our Thanksgiving looks pathetic compared to yours." "That's not my problem," I said. Then I heard Grandma Dorothy's voice. She'd walked into the room. "Put them on speaker," she said. I hit the speaker button. "Mom," Dad said. "You're there?" "Of course I'm here," Grandma said. "Where else would I be? You've all taken Emberly for granted for too long, always putting her second after Victoria. That's why I'm here in Colorado instead of Columbus. Emberly built something extraordinary through her own work, and you should be proud of her, not jealous." "We're not jealous," Mom said weakly. "Yes, you are," Grandma said. "And you're embarrassed that everyone saw what you did. Emberly didn't do this to hurt you. She did this because she wanted to spend the holiday with people who actually care about her. Now you need to think about that." Grandma walked out. I stood there holding the phone. "Well, talk later," Dad said and hung up. The relatives stayed through the weekend. We hiked, played games, watched movies in the home theater. Grandma Dorothy stayed in one of the guest rooms and held court like royalty. Everyone came to her for advice, stories, hugs. On Sunday, people started leaving. By Monday evening, it was just me and Grandma in the big house. We sat by the fireplace drinking chamomile tea. "You did the right thing," she said. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe I was being petty." "You were being honest. There's a difference." Grandma stayed another week. We went into Aspen, visited art galleries, ate at amazing restaurants. It was the most time I'd spent with her in years. When she left, I put her on a first-class flight home. She hugged me at the airport. "Make them work for it," she said. "Don't let them back in easily." "I won't," I promised. A few days later, my phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. "I've always been jealous of you. You got to choose your own path. You failed and got back up. I've been on rails my whole life doing what Mom and Dad wanted. I'm sorry they didn't spend time with you because of me." I didn't realize how bad it was. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "Thanks for saying that." Then my parents started texting. Dad wrote first. "Grandma was right. We were unfair to you. I'm proud of what you built. I'm proud of you." Mom's text came an hour later. "The house looked beautiful in the photos. Can we come see it?" I didn't answer right away. I thought about it for days. Finally, in early December, I texted back. "Come for Christmas, just you, Dad, and Victoria, small group." They agreed immediately. On December 23rd, Victoria and my parents arrived at the estate. They got out of the taxi and stood there looking at the house the same way everyone else had. Dad's mouth hung open. "Emberly, this is incredible." I gave them the tour. They walked through slowly, touching things, looking out windows, not saying much. In my study, Dad stopped in front of a wall where I'd framed magazine covers. Forbes, TechCrunch, Business Insider, articles about CyberGuard, about me. "Forbes 30 under 30, he read. "When was this?" 3 years ago, I said. You never told us. I tried, I said. There was always something with Victoria or the kids that was more important. He looked down. Over dinner that night, Mom put down her fork. We failed both of you. We put too much pressure on Victoria to be perfect, and we didn't give you the attention and recognition you deserved. Emberly, I'm truly sorry. Dad cleared his throat. I think we need to start over. All of us. Try to forget the old hurts and learn to trust each other again. Can we do that? I looked at them. Mom looked older than I remembered. Dad had more gray in his hair. Victoria looked exhausted. We can try, I said. But I was scared they only wanted to make peace because of my money. They didn't ask for money, though. Not once during the whole visit. The next few days were quiet. We went for walks on the snow-covered trails. We played board games by the fireplace. We watched holiday movies in the home theater. It felt strange, but not bad. On Christmas morning, my parents gave me books by my favorite authors. Actual books I'd want to read. Mom also gave me 2 paintings for the house from a local Colorado artist she'd researched. Victoria gave me a custom painting of the San Francisco skyline from an artist she'd commissioned. I remember you said you loved the view from your Stanford dorm, she said. They were thoughtful gifts, not the generic candles and bath sets they used to give me. At dinner, Mom stood up with her glass. To new beginnings. To Emberly, who had the courage to create her own path and invite us to walk it with her. Dad hugged me after dinner. I'm proud of you. Not just the house, the life you built, all of it. 2 days after Christmas, they left. The goodbye at the door was warmer than any goodbye we'd ever had. I stood on the porch watching their taxi drive away. I didn't know if we'd ever be truly close, but at least we'd taken the first step. Now I talk to Grandma Dorothy twice a week. I text with Victoria every few days. My parents call once a week to check in. It's not perfect, but it's better. And for now, that's enough.